So God did something really cool for Israel. He allowed them to be victorious over this attacking king. And it just so happens that it was in the hill country that they won this battle. And that king that was attacking Israel, he didn't learn his lesson, because he said to his men, you know what, the only reason why they beat us was because we were in the hills, and their God is a God who only fights in the hills. That was his perspective, for real. Their God is a God of the hills, but we will attack them in the plain. We'll attack them in the low place, and they won't be able to defeat us because their God is not there either. And so guess what? They attacked them in the plain, and guess what? Israel kicked their rear ends again. What does that mean for us? The God that we serve is a God of the high places, and He's a God of the low places. He is everywhere. And it does not matter where you are at, what you are going through, and what you feel, He is still God. Yay, God! GD. No. But God. But God. But God. But God. He is there. And it's awesome. I want to read you this a little bit from a book called Job, which many of you have read that book before, and it's one of the most fascinating books in the whole entire Bible. And I just want to give a synopsis of kind of what happens to this guy by the name of Job. And basically what was going on is Job was the best guy that had lived up to this point. He was righteous. He had a great family, big family. He was very blessed. He was very wealthy. Everything went well for him. And not only that, he followed God. He served God. He was righteous. And then one day there's this really strange meeting between God and Satan. And what happens is Satan goes up to God and they have this conversation. And he basically tells God, the only reason why this guy praises you and is so good is because you blessed him. It's because everything goes well for him. No wonder he praises you, because it's always good. And God says, well, why don't you test it out? And he said, you can do anything to him you want to, except you just cannot, you can't touch the man himself. And so we go through there in the first chapter of Job. It's just amazing what happens. I'm just going to highlight some of these. One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking at their oldest brother's house, a messenger came and told Job, the oxen were plowing, the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabaeans attacked, and they carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you. And while he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, the fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you. Okay, Job's having a bad day. Obviously. But it doesn't stop there. While he was still speaking, another messenger came. And the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you. Bad day is getting even worse. It keeps going. While he was still speaking, yet another messenger came. And by this time, whenever that messenger comes in, I'm just like, I don't want to hear it. It's like, just keep it yourself. Let me just deal with everything that I've lost so far. Your sons and your daughters were feasting and drinking in the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead. Can you believe this? Now here's the thing that is amazing right here. Is in verse 20, after all this stuff happened, everything around Job just collapsed in a day. And here's what he does right here. He says at this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship. He said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. What's he saying? He's saying, but God. I just had a bad day. But God. I bet it was really, really hard for him to say that. And then it says, in all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. That's pretty amazing. Now, I wish I could say the story stops there, but it doesn't. Satan and God have another meeting. And he says, you know what? Yeah, okay, maybe he still prays you, but you know what? What if we touch his own flesh? What if we touch him? Then he'll curse you. And sure enough, God says, okay, you can touch his flesh, but just don't take his life away. And then we have this thing where now Job is afflicted with all these sores and boils all over his skin, and has all this disease, and it just gets worse, and he's basically in this just debilitated state right there. And you'd think at that point, Job would just throw up and give up and just forget it. It's all done. But it's very interesting in verse 9. It says, after all this happened, his wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." Have you ever had anybody say to you, "Why do you still hold on to your faith in God? He doesn't do anything for you. Just go away from him. Curse him and die." That's what was being said to Job right here. And he replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin by what he said. Wow. That's a pretty strong man right there. That's a pretty amazing thing. To be able to say, "God, you are great," and to be praised when it's up here, that's one thing. But then when it's down here, to be able to say, "God, you are great and you are worthy of praise," that's amazing. You know what? That's exactly the way that you can be. That's exactly the way that God wants you to be. Someone with a weak faith will praise God when it's good. And they'll follow him as long as they're blessed. That's a weak faith. But someone with a strong faith will praise God always. They will always follow him. See, this is the way God wants us. He wants us to be people of faith and not sight. He wants us to be people that follow the Spirit and not the flesh. He wants us to be people that have depth and are not shallow. And I tell you, the way that you can get depth, the way that you can walk by the Spirit, the way that you can do that is whenever the time is going bad, at that point, but God. You lift him up and you praise him. You don't have to feel good. You don't have to feel great. You don't have to even have the answer. But in that moment, but God, you are God. I give you glory. I give you praise. Now what I'm going to do to close, I'm going to have the band go ahead. You guys go ahead and come on up here. And I'm going to have them play a song for you. And this is a song that you've heard before on the radio, I'm sure. But what I want to, the reason why I had these guys play this song is because this is a song that I've been singing right now in my life. I've been listening to this song so very much. And one of the things that I do know is I know that there's a lot of folks, a lot of you here that are going through some things that are a little bit difficult. And maybe for you it does not feel like a peak of the hill. It feels a little bit more like a mediocre place or truth. I tell you what, one of the things that happens to us is whenever we're in a low spot, we start hearing voices that aren't necessarily God's. We start hearing voices that say, "Man, you can't do it. You can't make it. You can't look up. Don't call out to God. Just curse him and die." I'll tell you what, that's whenever you need to listen to the voice of truth. I always want the guys to play and just listen and be blessed as they